Formula One technology means the company builds some of the fastest and most sophisticated cars in the world. But mass producing this car is going to be a whole new ballgame. The design work is obviously the first thing a customer sees. But underneath the skin, engineers have taken advantage of some of their Formula One innovations.
This is the F1 preparation area where we prepare the cars for demonstrations, for testing, and also we prepare our old historic cars. This is MP41, the first carbon chassis Formula One car ever made. This is an old friend of the family.
The new car has its genesis in this Formula One car, the first to use a lightweight material borrowed from the aerospace industry, carbon fibre.
Everyone had narrow chassis, same kind of shape as this. But because of this inherently weak area here, the aluminium chassis were twisting. When we did the carbon chassis, we realised we achieved 100% stiffer chassis than had been made before. So suddenly our car was, the leading technology. Some of the other teams said that it was a fragile material, that it would shatter, but all the accidents we've had in it prove that it was up to the job. And since then, carbon chassis have got stronger and stronger and safer. But this was the start of it.
Not only was the company's carbon chassis stronger and safer, but it was a lot lighter, which meant acceleration and handling were greatly improved. And applying these design features to the new road car has obvious advantages. In the 1990s, McLaren set the land speed record for the fastest road car at the time, 240 miles per hour, in this, the XP5. The secret was the carbon fibre chassis, called a monocell. But it took 4,000 man-hours to make and cost the lion's share of the £600,000 price tag, so production numbers were limited. But through precision engineering, strength like this can now be mass-produced by the company at a much lower cost. But all of the new road cars start life like this, a carbon fibre tub.
This is the very first component that goes to making the car. Without the tub, the interior doesn't have anywhere to fit. You can't put the crash structure on, you can't put the engine in, you can't put the body panels on. Everything about this tub is maximised to combine as many functions as possible into a single component. Everything has to be perfect in order for us to be able to build the car.
The tub is made away from prying eyes in a factory in Austria.
Now what I have here is a biax material, which means that on one side you have fibres running that way, and on the other side you have fibres running that way. And that's held together by the stitching that you can see here. Now, by layering this up in different ways, by using the triax material and the biax material, we can orientate the strength in the direction that we want it without adding additional weight.
Pieces of carbon fibre are layered until they form the correct shape.
This is the part of the process that I'm really excited about. It's where we actually combine the carbon fibre preforms with the resin that will hold the whole lot together and form the carbon monocell. So we have three different areas of this system. We have the preform loading section, which is what you can see behind me. We have the transfer system, which will then take the tool from this area into the press. We then have the resin injection system, and that is where all of the clever bits are done.
This machine is where a secret process injects a resin into the mould under intense pressure. This secret system is completely unique to McLaren and means a new tub can now be produced about every 4 hours.
With this process, we've reduced the number of man-hours it takes to build the chassis from 4,000 on the F1 road car down to 4 hours on the MP412C. It makes me really proud.
Once the engineers have the monocell back in the UK, the rest of the car can start to be built. The first stage of the assembly takes place at Unit 22, 2 miles from the main building.
Welcome to body assembly. So this is the start of the MP412C. This is where we get the first components, the start of the production line for us. So within this unit, we're completing that monocell prior to it going to paint.
The first things added to the tub are the crash structures, which help absorb energy in the event of an impact. Every car is hand-built and assembled by a team of engineers. Many of the body parts are made from a special lightweight plastic material and are secured using an extremely strong adhesive. This allows them to bond plastic, carbon fibre and aluminium together, and is the same bonding technique used in the aircraft and space industry.
Better than super glue, but you've got two parts to it, got the orange and the yellow sides. One's a hardener. Once it's bonded, it doesn't come apart.
Once you've applied all the adhesive, then you've got to put the parts into the jig. You line it up on these two holes here, it's lined up on these two pins here. And then you put that in, pull the clamp round, and locks it into place.
With the body panels attached, the car is moved from jig to jig, where the various other parts are fitted into place. With the car's outer pillars in place, the rear body upper structure is attached. Then the side panels, which attach to the lower side of the car. And with the rear panels fitted, the roof tops the list, and the body is complete. The body is then taken to a huge robot arm, which measures 356 points to make sure everything is in place to within thousandths of a millimetre.
So basically the whole process time within body assembly, from getting that carbon fibre tub to a completed monocell that you see on CMM, is a total of 495 minutes.
Painting cars is often an automated process, but here, even this is done by hand. It's going to take over 12 hours from the body first entering the paint shop until it leaves. And in this facility, attention to detail is everything.
Yeah, we keep doing it till it's perfect, until every surface on this car is flat. Until all the imperfections are sorted, we won't let it go through.
But before the paint goes on, there's one last job to do.
Basically, this is an anti-static gun. So we pass it over the vehicle and it takes away the static electricity, which again draws particles to the body and will end up as dirt inclusion.
Finally, the paint can be applied.
This is a pressure pot system where all the paint is in a pot at the front there. The pot is charged and then paint is fed through the line at a constant rate. Okay.
The cars come in a variety of colours, but whatever the customer chooses, they still have to pass an eagle eye. Once painted, the car is ready for the rest of the assembly process. First is the electrics, which come in something called a loom.
In this box is the wiring loom for the car in its entirety.
With over 2 kilometres of cable and 2,000 individual circuits, it takes a team of 3 men to put it in place. The carbon fibre monocell tub is not the only F1 innovation to cascade into the new car. They've also included a technology that was actually banned from Formula One.
We've introduced some very innovative ideas over the years. Brake steer was our secret weapon. Brake steer was a fourth pedal inside the cockpit. So conventionally, you have 3 pedals, the throttle, the brake and the clutch. We introduced a fourth pedal on the left, and in the corner, the driver could squeeze that pedal and it biased the drive to the outside wheel and enhanced the turning of the car. Well, we kept it a secret for, I think, about 6 races, and then a journalist put his camera down inside the car and he got a picture of that fourth pedal and the secret was out. but it's a great method of improving the cornering.
Neil's car had an extra pedal, but the 12C does this all via computer. At this speed, the car would normally follow this line, but using brake steer allows it to follow this line, holding the apex of the corner and killing any understeer. By taking into account the speed and steering angle, the computer works out the correct trajectory. Located in the front luggage compartment, it sends a signal to the inside rear brake when cornering, allowing the car to effectively pivot around the desired path.
All you feel is like someone's grabbed hold of a pole on the inside of the corner and you're swinging around it, so it just buys you massive cornering performance without having to compromise high speed stability, and so we've got the best of both worlds.
But it's not just the brake steer that helps with handling. The braking system on the 12C means it can come to a complete stop from 124 miles an hour in just 5 seconds. Making sure the car will stop quickly and safely is a big responsibility. While McLaren have been adapting their F1 technology for many things, it's different for the engine. The car's 3.8-litre twin-turbo V8 is the first engine the company has ever designed themselves. A V8 is basically two 4-stroke engines bolted together with a single crank. A 4-stroke engine works by allowing air and fuel to mix in the cylinder. At the first stroke, a vacuum is created. At the second stroke, all valves close, allowing the pistons to compress the air and fuel mixture, ready for detonation by the spark plug. The explosion forces the piston down, transferring its energy to the crankshaft, which in turn powers the flywheel, the gears, and the wheels. The last upward movement of the piston forces open the exhaust valve, releasing used gases. The pistons are just one of the 1,100 handmade parts in the engine, and they're made at a specialist factory in Basingstoke. The billet is first heated to 460 degrees C, or gas mark 21, to make the alloy malleable enough for Sean to forge. The hydraulic forge press has squeezed up with the equivalent weight of 88 elephants onto the preheated aluminium billet, creating the basic shape of the underside of the piston. To optimise the piston's basic metallic structure, the forgings are cooked again at 485 degrees C for 10 hours. The parts are then dropped into a secret solution. This type of alloy increases in strength as it cools. Then they're cleaned through an acid line, removing the graphite lubricant that was used in the forging process. They're placed in acid for 4 minutes and then washed off before they go into another of Sean's special solutions.
Before acid, after acid.
At full speed, each piston travels up and down 140 times a second, so precision engineering is essential. The piston goes through a process of further aging, milling and machining before being put together.
So this is where we actually put the piston together with the piston rings, gudgeon pin and all the pins that go with it. And this is ready just to be packed up in the packaging and actually sent to the engine builder. So we have a full set of engine pistons and a set of engine liners. The engine liner will go in the block, the piston will get connected and then assembled together. And then that basically is what you've got the heart of a supercar.
Just up the road at a specialist engine manufacturer, the rest of the parts are assembled, with the pistons taking their place in the engine head. But this company doesn't just build the engine, they also create what it will actually sound like. You might think the sound of the engine is just a byproduct of the moving mechanical parts, but it's actually been designed by an engineer. The 12C has a relatively small 3.8 litre engine. To get the power associated with a supercar, engineers have bolted on twin turbochargers, which force more air into the cylinders, creating an even higher combustion level.
The turbocharger actually cuts down a lot of the sound that comes out of the exhaust pipes, which isn't really good for a sports car. We want to have as much noise as we can coming out of there and tune to a nice sound as well. So one of the key things we've had to do on this car is to tune the exhaust system to match up with the turbochargers so that we can get the right kind of sound out of the back of the car. The engine is like the breathing, spitting heart of the car, and then it's got two saxophones on the back of it. And by tuning the exhaust system to get the right kind of mixing between the different cylinders, that gives us the Metallica sound that we were looking for earlier on. So that kind of got a bit of oomph to it, hasn't it, that? I really like that.
Okay, we're on the runway. It's slippery as hell. 4,000 RPM now. And now I'm dumping through.
Professional racing drivers might have pushed the new car to its limit, but most customers won't be driving it on a racetrack. It's a road car, so how it handles on different surfaces all around the world is a top priority. This kind of testing allows them to find and fix faults before customers do, and they use specially built roads to do it.
So this surface is a specifically designed, badly maintained road. It will expose any squeaks and rattles. We're now going on to the Belgian pavé surfaces. So these generally give shorter wavelength inputs into the car and expose any kind of secondary ride issues that it might have. Or if anything is going to drop off the car, it would be here. It does rattle you around a little bit driving over these things. These are the washboard surfaces, which are quite harsh and not dissimilar to sort of cat's eyes on a motorway, but more severe. It's quite difficult with a sports car that needs to be stiff in the corners to also be compliant on the bumps.
The new car has some very clever engineering, which should allow it to cope with most road conditions. At each corner of it, there are independent spring and hydraulic dampers. Fluid-filled chambers are linked to each other. As high pressure meets high pressure under roll, the chassis stiffens. But to have a more comfortable ride on a badly maintained road, hydraulic lines connect the front and back, allowing each wheel to operate independently.
The car has got a number of discrete suspension settings which allow it to become moderately firm on rough surfaces, but at the flick of a switch you can turn it into something that's also very responsive on racetrack kind of environments. So Jack and Hyde, I think, is probably the best description you can give.
The team work with a fleet of over 50 prototypes, and one of the oldest is maintained by engineers.
Temperatures coming out of the exhaust are approximately about 800 degrees. So we've seen problems with the bumpers melting before, so it's just a way of bypassing that and just carrying on.
When the team discover problems like the melting bumpers, tweaks and adjustments can be fed back to base to fix them.
This car does look proper Mad Max, but I can assure you all the equipment in the car is top notch and is the highest spec that you can get. As you can see, it's quite different to a production car that you would see on the line. We run quite a lot of data logging, 2 screens here so the driver can see everything that's going on with the engine, and also all these switches here are bespoke to nearly all the test cars. So you have here fire extinguisher armed, engine kill, battery kill, and this will be for just recording their laps during the durability cycle. And on the rear shelf is where the data logging computer normally sits.
To expose any weakness from high mileage wear and tear, the team put the car through the kind of stresses it would accumulate over several years. The testing programme is not a 9-to-5 job. Continuously on the road, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the car can accumulate more than 50,000 kilometres a month. Tonight, it's the job of Rob to do the first 3-hour night shift.
If we ran just during the day, we'd get half the amount done, and in such a short period of time, we've managed to gain a lot of information. I suppose a lot of us are just a bit frustrated Formula 1 drivers. Didn't get that opportunity, so we'll keep on pushing and pretending.
Tests like this are the only way McLaren can know how the car will last during its lifetime. Back at the assembly line, the new cars are about to have their engines fitted. To save on weight and space, the engine and all its ancillaries have been packed extremely tight. The assembly engineers must take utmost care when bringing the car down, guiding everything into place and making sure nothing clashes. Bolts are put in underneath the frame and the engine is fixed in place. On other stations, the interiors, final body panels and wheels are also fitted. We've made cars in Britain for decades, and although some argue we have passed our heyday, taken as a whole, the automotive industry still accounts for around 10% of all UK exports in a highly competitive international market.